Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Into the Vault, the show where we reach back into the Disney vault, pull out a movie, and find out if it was a hidden treasure, or if it was locked away for our own good. I'm your host, Garrison MacCraw, and today I was going to be joined by Jayden McGrael. She just sat down, but I don't see her. Where's...
Ow!
Jayden!
Ah, you hit me!
You were just invisible!
I was?
Yeah!
Oh, I'm sorry. I hear this happens all the time.
Well, you know who else it happens to?
Who?
Elliot the Dragon from Pete's Dragon, the movie we're watching this week.
So true. Poor guy.
I know.
Comes in
Jayden,
handy time to time, though.
the turning invisible?
Yeah.
When?
When you need to be a spooky universal monster?
Like Dracula,
Yeah.
not the Invisible Man.
Like Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any of them except...
You know his quirk where he just sometimes turns invisible and eats apples
Yep.
that are slingshotted at him.
So I have you today for Pete's Dragon, the 1977 classic.
Yes.
1977, when your two film options were Pete's Dragon,
Or?
Star Wars.
Yep. I know which one I was in line to see.
Back in 77.
Yeah, back in my old days. Back in the days of yesteryear.
Now, you're a fan of this movie.
Yes. I loved this movie growing up so much. I couldn't tell you a lick of the plot, but I wanted Elliot the dragon so bad. I wanted a dragon of my own to have to eat apples with and cuddle and go on hijinks and stuff.
Well, that's the thing that I think is so interesting about this movie is I feel like the movie in and of itself is either fine or good or bad or whatever. That doesn't matter. I feel like the character of Elliot himself has transcended past the movie.
Oh yeah, he definitely became a magical symbol in a way, in the same way that sometimes with Disney animation, Jiminy Cricket is not associated with Pinocchio, or Tinkerbell is not associated with Peter Pan. Or Figaro the cat is Minnie Mouse's cat, but she's also
Geppetto's cat.
Geppetto's cat. You know,
characters that sort of transcend past their movies, and people know them outside of the film they came from. Say, the Three Caballeros.
Exactly.
Jose and Panchito, like...
Whereas nobody knows what happens with Saludos Amigos.
Yeah.
Frankly, because nothing happens in Saludos Amigos.
They go to South America.
They run around.
They run around. It's just an hour of animations running around after live-action women. So in front of you... So I placed the poster for Pete's Dragon in front of you. It says,
boy, oh boy.
Brazzle Dazzle Brilliance. So that's
Yes.
pretty good so far.
With fireworks in the background.
Yep. We have Elliot there doing a little jig and a bunch of heads. Now, I haven't seen this movie in a while. Do these heads have bodies in the film?
They do, but they turn invisible from time to time.
Oh, okay.
So that's what they're doing in this movie poster.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm trying to see if I can remember any of this.
Well, the little boy, obviously.
Is
you can
Pete.
See Bowl Cut Pete.
Yeah, Bowl Cut Pete.
Bowl Cut Pete, as he's known around the salty spittoon.
Yeah, we have, guys, there's a circus at some point.
Mm-hmm. I remember the...
There's apples.
Yeah. I remember the potion seller guy, like one of those old-fashioned...
Like snake oil?
Cowboy, like, style snake oil vendors. Mm-hmm. He's there. He's the one in the top hat with the curly Q mustache who has that dashing, debonair smile.
There's also a lighthouse in this movie, I'm just remembering now.
Yeah.
So there's a circus, a lighthouse... a disappearing
that song,
dragon.
I'll be your candle on the water.
What?
5,000 candles in the wind.
Is that from this movie?
Yes.
Yes, not Parks and Rec, it's from this movie.
Little Sebastian is the one who dies in this movie.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry.
Well, thanks for ruining it for me.
We also have a sailor. I remember it takes place in like a seafaring town, like a Maine, like a carousel style town.
Right.
Yeah.
Carousel would have been a lot better if there was a dragon.
Oh, man. Instead of going to heaven,
yeah, he just...
what's his face turns into a dragon. Amazing.
Well, I don't think
dragon.
there's too much else I know. Like, I'm not going to have you predict plot because you know it.
I don't know what happens, though. is the thing. I know all these characters, and I know, like,
the settings.
Few bits of
what
moments.
happens?
I think... Okay. From my childhood, like, way back in the day memory, of course, Pete had a dragon named Elliot who could turn invisible, so people thought it was his imaginary friend. And there were these, like, dingbats who were always chasing after him. Okay. I think he was, like, their adopted person.
And somehow there's also carnivals and snake oils and lighthouses and trees and I think a schoolhouse. So I think that's about all we need to go into this thing.
Yeah.
See if we can piece together what glues all these seemingly random elements together.
Yeah.
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 All right, see you in a sec. Except it'll be no time for you. Podcasts. And we are back. We have just finished watching Pete's Dragon. Jayden, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm feeling pretty good about this. Oh my god, Elliot?
That's my bad Elliot impression. You should cut it, because it was bad.
Got it, I'm going to copy and paste it into every other sentence.
Yours is better. You can make more of a clicky sound than I can.
So this film opens up.
Yeah.
So we have...
Let me just say, I love Elliot so much. So much. I love him so much. I cried.
No, Elliot really is awesome. So let's get into this. So we have the film opening up with Pete going through the woods.
Yeah, he's straight up on top of Elliot when it opens up. I mean, we don't see animated Elliot yet, but he's like bumbling around on top of this invisible creature.
Yeah, it's a very strange lore in this universe that dragons can turn invisible. Is that... I don't believe that's established in dragon lore anywhere else.
Okay, but Elliot's not a typical dragon. It's not supposed to be a typical dragon by any means. It's like almost
except
like
for his height, which is typical for a dragon.
Usual dragon size. No, Elliot's like, as this movie explains, almost a guardian that guards over, like, kids who really need help.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete is a kid who really needs help because he was an orphan who was then bought for, like, $50 plus legal fees.
50 cents.
50 cents. Oh, man.
So $50.50.
$50.50 legal fees from this one, like, hillbilly neck of the woods style...
Just gross.
Gross family called, like...
The Gorgon. The Gogans?
The Gogans.
The Gogurts. The Gogurts. Yes.
Yeah, the Gogurts. They're disgusting, and they're, like, abusing him and actively telling him, like, all the ways that they're gonna torture him.
And they're like, why are you running away? All we want to do is work you forever. He's so disrespectful. And we're gonna chain him up. And maybe, I don't know.
Maybe hit him with a baseball bat and see if any candy falls out.
But he's still running away.
Kids. So,
yeah,
of course Elliot needs to protect Pete from these, like, despicable people. And he does.
Yeah.
Good for him.
So Pete and Elliot make their way to this town. But first, they find themselves woken up in an apple field, so they are like, hey, you know what we need to do? We need to sing a whole song about how much we love each other and feed each other some apples.
Okay, this was my favorite scene as a kid. Honestly, after watching the movie tonight, I could watch nothing but, like, Elliot and Pete get into hijinks, like roasting apples, and, like, have these animators flex their 2D animation muscles.
Is there a chance, since this movie is 2 hours long, that you watched the first 5 minutes, watched the apple scene, been like, what a great movie, and turned it off as a kid?
Yes.
All right.
It's a very good chance. Because I remember there being much more Elliot in my movie than there actually was, but it's okay, because I powered through until I got to see him again. I loved the apple scene. It's a really cute song, too.
Bop, bop, bop,
Bop, bop, bop, bop. Bitty bitty bop.
So Pete and Elliot then make their way to this town called
Passamaquoddy?
Passamaquoddy?
Passamaquoddy, that's who. And this town, it's like a lighthouse style fisherman town.
Yep, and Pete shows up and he's like, all right,
First
Elliot.
off, he tells Elliot to turn invisible.
Yeah, he's like, don't worry, Elliot, we're not gonna cause any ruckus, not any trouble.
We don't want to be hated,
nope.
you know?
So just be cool, be invisible, we'll just make our way through town. And Elliot's like, got it. Bump into everything and step in wet cement.
Ruckus.
Is that what you meant? And Pete's like, no, that's literally the opposite of what I meant.
Now everybody hates us. Gee, I'm awfully
It's like,
sorry.
all right, we just can't let anyone know we're here.
Yeah.
Then a school teacher shows up. It's like, what is going on here? He's like, sorry, it's my dragon.
Yeah.
Pete
all the
immediately.
School kids are like, you have a dragon? And he's like, yup, and I'm not ashamed.
So he has his own rules until he's like, well, I can say I have a dragon.
Nobody's allowed to say they have a dragon except me.
Except me. We see this guy, this Mickey Rooney type, played by Mickey Rooney, show up like, hey, what's going on here? Whoa, that's a dragon! And proceeds to run to the bar and tell everyone about the dragon.
Everybody is like, Mickey Rooney, you're so drunk all the time, you dumb drunk. And then...
They say while all drinking in a bar.
While all drinking.
It's like, we can't trust anything this drunk says. Glub, 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 glub.
Yeah, and despite, like, it being a terrifying... like acknowledgement, like this man actually believes there's a dragon. That's either scary because there's a real dragon or he's real far gone. They instead are all like, whoopity-doo, let's do a happy drinking song, and like bounce around on barrels and pop kegs and stuff.
And I believe this brings about my main, I would say, issue with the film, is there's a lot of moments and scenes where things just kind of happen, but they don't really add anything to the story or really make sense for the scene they're in.
Oh yeah, but I have so much fun. I do.
Yes.
His daughter comes in to...
Yeah, Mickey Rooney's, not Elliot or Pete's.
Yeah, Pete, no. The daughter, Nora?
Sure.
So Nora walks in and she's like, oh, you all are making fun of my father and, like, making really weird, gross comments towards me. Let's do more of a dance number. Anyways, she owns this lighthouse.
Yeah.
That's up the road.
And Pete decides to take up residence in a cave nearby.
Like, right underneath.
Right underneath the lighthouse. And she's
so
doing...
does Elliot, because Elliot and Pete are roomies.
Yeah.
Bros.
Yeah, they have to pay rent because caves are expensive.
Caves are expensive.
You know,
especially
too
the
much.
two-bedroom ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Nora's doing her regular lighthouse cave check, I guess?
She sees him. She sees him walk into the cave from the lighthouse.
And does her normal lighthouse cave check.
And she is like, hey, we have chowder on the stove. Meanwhile, Pete and Elliot are having a little bit of a friendly disagreement because Pete's mad that Elliot screwed everything up.
It's like, you revealed yourself. And, I mean, granted, I told everyone there was a dragon, but you revealed yourself.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Meanwhile, all Elliot wants to do is make Pete smile by playing a friendly game of tack-of-toe.
What?
Tack-of-toe?
What are you saying?
Meanwhile, this is where you'll start the tape over. Meanwhile, Elliot just wants to make Pete smile by playing a friendly game of tic-tac-toe this whole time. But Pete's not having it. But he would have some chowder from the nice woman who lives in the lighthouse.
Yeah, so Pete takes up the offer. Is like, all right, woman who's doing a cave check, I'll go and get some chowder. Woman's like, all right, just be careful in these caves. The tide comes in. He's like, all right, Elliot, you stay here.
By the way, I forgive ya.
And goes right on up to the house. So Nora reveals that she once had a fiancé, but now he's gone, lost at sea. So she's, as she claims, married to the lighthouse. And I think the legal fees on that would probably be astronomical.
Oh, I bet. But
more than 50 cents.
More than 50 cents, for sure. And Pete responds, he's like, oh, I should tell Elliot. Elliot's good at finding things. And she's like, who the heck is Elliot? And he's like, my dragon.
Yeah, keeping it under wraps as always.
As always. And she's like, oh, you're the boy who has the dragon that my dad was drunkenly raving about. And
doesn't like, think there's anything more to this story.
Yeah, she's just like, he's a figment of Pete's imagination.
That my dad also saw.
Yeah. And Pete is like, yep. And she's like, what's he look like then? And they sing this great song.
About how he has the head of a camel and other things.
Yeah. And she invites him to, like, stay the night in a nice warm bed, and he's like, okay, I won't even check on my dragon in the high tide cave and everything, but this is great.
So in the town, there's a new development. We have, these fish oil, snake oil, fish oil?
Peddlers of, like, oddities and cures.
It's like, well, you can cure anything.
Potions.
You know, this is what I thought what the circus was back when I was talking about what I thought the movie was about.
Dude.
There was no circus.
No.
Which, disappointing.
He does look like a ringmaster.
Yes, that was probably it.
Yeah.
And they did their work in a tent.
He has the classic, like, garter belts on his sleeves.
Garter? Arms?
Arm garters.
Garms?
Garmters.
Garmters.
He has those and a top hat and a curly Q mustache. And somehow he has been to this town before and everybody knows his reputation, but he turns it around and he convinces everybody to give him money again. So he's taken up shop for quite a few days. His name's Dr. Terminus,
yep.
I think, which is like the worst name of a doctor ever.
Yeah. So basically the entire town's just dumb.
Yeah. For sure.
Let's see, we have the return of the Go-Gurts.
Oh, is that next too?
Yeah, basically. There's a lot of in between that doesn't matter.
Well, Pete goes to school for the first time and stuff, but Elliot messes it up and, like, crashes through the school walls and everything.
And still no one believes the dragon's there, even though there's 2 dragon-shaped holes in the school. Except
for Dr. Terminus and his bumbling fool, who also happened to see the dragon somehow, because there's the drunk guy showed him at some point.
Yeah, they walked in the cave.
Yeah, they walked in the cave, and
and the Go-Gurts are back. We have Go-Gurts, and they're like, "Hey, Pete, you're coming back with us." And Nora's like, "How about he doesn't?" And then Elliot knocks the Go-Gurts over from this little boat they were in, and still no one believes there's an actual dragon.
Yeah.
And my favorite part about this whole scene is there's a song going on about how the Go-Gurts want Pete to come back with them, and Nora's like, no, he won't, and they're having this argument, and all their fishermen are just sitting in the background, just like mending their nets, fixing up their poles, like right next to it, with these dirty hillbillies just tap dancing away.
Mm-hmm. And I think we forgot to mention that Dr. Terminus, now that he has seen the fact that there's a dragon in town, really wants to kill Elliot and skin him and blood him and take all of his parts and put them into potions because it'll make him money.
Which, if he's a snake oil guy and just does fake things anyway, why
does he want real things?
Yeah,
that's not your brand.
Just put a camel's head in a jar and say it's a dragon.
Yeah, or an alligator's neck in a jar and say it's a dragon.
Just put what else did they say in that song?
They said
cow
ears of a cow.
Yeah, put cow ears in a bottle and say it's a dragon.
Yeah.
So he all of a sudden wants to change. Be real, but also still make fake potions.
Dumb. He decides, because the Go-Gurts are in town, that they should team up.
Yep.
And take down Elliot together.
Yes.
So they create a ruse.
It's a great and clever plan where they basically just take Pete and say, come get Pete. That's the whole plan.
Yeah, that's the whole plan. And they're set to, like, throw a net over Elliot and harpoon him and stuff. But Elliot somehow escapes from the net.
Because he's a dragon.
Because he's a dragon.
And very large.
People shouldn't control a dragon.
People can't control a dragon, more like.
And Elliot goes to the Go-Gurts and he burns up their paper that they're so proud of that said they've paid $50.50 to have claim over Pete. So now they no longer have claim over Pete, which is something that he could have done all along.
Which was an excellent climax to the film and, brought closure to, all the story points. Unless they bring in a second climax right after this climax.
Are you talking about the one where they get rid of Dr. Terminus? He flies through the town with his foot connected to a harpoon.
Alright, so that's the second climax, but hopefully there's no third climax to the story.
Oh wait, the husband's back.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
Nora's fiance.
Who got lost at sea. Elliot found him.
Yep.
And brought him back because of, the worst...
We'll get to that in a
Okay.
second. So... The boat of Nora's fiance is now coming back to shore, and the lighthouse keepers of Nora and Mickey Rooney are trying to light the way for the boat to come in.
Because a wave crashed into the top of the lighthouse at the top of the cliff and unlit the little candle that they had.
So this amazingly high wave has ruined any chance of this boat getting back to shore. Luckily, Pete's a dragon. No, Pete's not a dragon. Elliot's the dragon.
Dude.
Luckily, Elliot's a dragon and has fire.
Yeah.
So he just, fixes it.
And he's not invisible this time, so now Nora actually sees him and is like, you've been real this whole time? Why didn't you tell me?
I'm surprised she even believed it then. If she didn't believe the everything else.
The Elliot dragon-shaped silhouette in the school and everything.
I wouldn't be surprised if she was just like, oh man, Pete, what happened? How did this lighthouse light up again? So the lighthouse gets lit again.
And they don't visit the husband storyline until even later.
Yeah, so it's nightfall during this whole scene. And then in the morning, when everyone has different clothes on and, can tell they got freshly started for their day, that's when the husband walks in.
By the way, the port is now thriving with, overhauls of fish and stuff.
Oh, yeah, there was a weird plot point where, there was no fish in the town.
And we just assumed it was because Elliot was eating so much fish. But then
guess
there were so much fish at the end. Did he also go out to sea to find the fish? Was he looking for all the missing fish?
There's no way that he ate all the fish. Elliot's not eating, hundreds upon hundreds of fish.
He has a diet consistent of apples, and that's it.
So, all the fishermen were blaming Pete, you're the reason all the fish are gone, which, what? It was this most bizarre plot point that came out of nowhere and was, they resolved it. Good for them.
But, yeah, so Nora's husband comes back and he's like, my love, I have been gone for so long, because my boat sank, and I was the only surviving member of the crew, and I got amnesia, but just a few days ago, a weird thing toppled my hospital bed, and I got concussed. So then I remembered everything. So he came back.
Yes, Elliot, the medical professional, fixed amnesia by hitting a man on the head. And so everything was fine, and he's back now.
But, sadly, Elliot has to go away because now Pete has a good home, and there are other kids in need, so he needs to fly away and go help save the world, like dragons do. And that's the end.
Alright, do you want to hear my bizarre theory?
What?
This movie takes place in the same universe as Mary Poppins.
No, I think that's 100% correct.
And Elliot is Mary Poppins. Hear me out.
Yes.
They both have to help kids or kids in need.
They
and
take
save
whatever form the child needs, because Mary Poppins, hang on, Mary Poppins only had rosy cheeks and a sunny disposition without any warts, because that's what they asked for in their letter.
So
what if
Pete wrote a letter
asking for a dragon?
What kind of dragon? A dragon with the head of a camel.
The neck of a crocodile,
and the ears of a cow. That's my theory.
I love that theory so much.
Thank you.
That's perfect. So that's just a theory, though. Do you have any, actual facts that you can, slam me with?
Boy, do I. If you want references to this at Disney World, you can actually find one in the electric water pageant. During the Sea Serpent segment, they play the song they sing while apple picking, the boppity boop, boppity bippity bop.
Oh man.
I love you
If
song.
only there was a bigger display of fantastical bright up lights, millions of dazzling lights that could amaze you through the nighttime that you could find over at Disney World that had references to Pete's Dragon.
Yeah, well
Sadly,
the Main Street Electrical Parade, which
Osborne Family Lights.
Yes, that one. No, the Main Street Electrical Parade, which used to be at Disney World and used to be at Disneyland and is now in a warehouse, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Just hanging out. There was a giant Elliot float.
It was so cool.
Had smoke going out of his nose.
And it could as lights can turn on and off, they could turn off all the lights and he could disappear. And Elliot was being rowed by Pete.
Yep, so they
Pete
had
would just be floating there. It was so cool.
It was awesome.
It was my favorite thing. Now it's gone. And Elliot is nowhere to be found. And he's probably helping kids in need somewhere, so I can't.
He's probably Mary Poppins.
You can actually find it in a Tokyo Disney place. Did you know this? You can hear a lot of the music in Tokyo Disney. I think they use Brazzle Dazzle Day, one of those songs, in a parade there somewhere. No references to Elliot, of course, except for in their version of the Main Street Electrical Parade. But you can hear some of the music. I think Tokyo Disney did a lot of that, where it was just we have such a big arsenal of music from back in the day. Let's just pull any of the zippity doodahs that we can and just throw them all in somewhere. People won't understand the words. They're in American.
And obviously you can still find a ton of Elliot merchandise around Disney.
Oh yeah, there's a pin and probably sorcerer words.
And the whole little statues you can buy.
Yep.
You have a bunch of those type here. So Jayden?
Yeah.
I believe now is the time of the show where we have to construct a ride based off of Pete's Dragon.
I'm so ready.
Now normally I surprise the guest with this, but since you've already been on the show,
I was prepared.
Yeah, I've seen you typing away
on my little notes page.
So hit me with what you got.
Well, for me, Pete's Dragon gives off such vintage Disney vibes, vintage Fantasyland Disney vibes. Mm-hmm. So I want a ride, think Snow White's Scary Adventures or Pinocchio or any of the vintage dark rides of yesteryear, but Pete's Dragon themed. But instead of having it just be one with a normal track where it keeps flat all the time, I want it to kind of take place like the Caterpillar ride in Disneyland for
the Alice in Wonderland one?
For the Alice in Wonderland.
Where it has levels.
Where it has levels. It's almost like a roller coaster track, but you go really, really slow through it. And you go outside and you come back inside.
So where are we putting this ride?
Oh, I'm putting it in Fantasyland.
Perfect.
Faux show.
All right, so we have this in Fantasyland. Let's see. Is this taking place during the movie, or is it...
It tells the story of the movie.
Perfect.
From, pretty much from start to finish.
So you see animatronics of the dirty Go-Gurts just doing a little
that
jig.
Would definitely be the intro. But the thing is, I want it to include the most Elliot you possibly can. because that's the cool
thing
of
that
the
everyone
movie
remembers.
is like having Elliot appearing and disappearing. So I want and I don't think this has ever been done really much with Disney, but I want them to include like hyper realistic Pirates of the Caribbean style animatronics with some of their more cartoonish ones, because I don't think they've ever like combined those two before. It's either been strictly cartoonish or strictly realistic, you know?
You're right. I'll think, and if I think of one, I'll let you know.
So imagine if you had, for example, in the first scene, when the Go-Gurts, Elliot knocks over one of them with his tail. Imagine having, like, a realistic guy, like a pirate-style guy, tripping over something, and then it appears, like, first off, I'd want it to start off as invisible somehow, and then turn into normal.
Yeah, you can do that with, like, screen projection, where it looks like it's just the grass, but then it, like, turns, and you see the outline of the tail.
Actual Elliot there, but he's completely, like think Seven Dwarfs Mine Train style 2D 3D version.
Yes, where the face is like a screen.
The entire thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you have the outline of the body, and on the body, instead of like physical coloring, it's all projected coloring.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd wanted to start with the Go-Gurts getting knocked over by his tail, then go into the apples and have him like disappear and reappear and stuff.
Smell it like the theme park smells of like the roasting apples.
And then you see like the sign to go to Passamaquoddy, and you see like invisible things start to happen, like his footprints going into the cement.
Oh, that'd be an easy effect to just have like
a
sinking like effect.
And having like the sign like rock
swing
back and forth. And then is when I'd want you to see like Dr. Terminus's thing too.
Like his whole tent set up.
Yeah.
And he's up there like selling like get your whatevers.
And then after that, I'd want you to go through like some of the cavern and then go outside for a minute. Then come back inside, and the cavern is like Pete looking at his shadow on the wall and being afraid of his shadow.
Elliot.
Oh, shoot. Elliot, yeah.
Oh,
Elliot.
Make fun of me.
Yeah, I will make fun of you. Then when you come inside, I'd want him to be Elliot, like, looking at his shadow on the wall and being afraid of the shadow. And then you hear, like, the shouts of, like, Elliot, come quick, Pete's in trouble. And you go through, like, Passamaquoddy in chaos, like, buildings afire and people, like, being angry and
no
shouting.
Fish.
No fish. Empty baskets of fish everywhere you look. And then I'd want like the Gurgons again, or Gogans, or Go-Gurts, and like Elliot right there in front of them, not disappearing, but doing like a smoke trick in their face. And then like a suspended doctor like hanging, fly above.
Like over back. Your cart, like the harpoon struck the post above, and the leg he's tied to is like he's swinging over you.
And then I'd want you to crank up a little bit higher and see like almost a Peter Pan's Flight style bird's eye view of Passamaquoddy, like not too tiny, but you see all of the people happy and stuff, and then you go and you see like the countryside with the lighthouse and everybody is waving back at you, and then you go outside and you see like a view of Fantasyland, and you come back down and you see one last thing of Pete, and he like blows smoke in your face and Elliot, and then he blows smoke in your face and then he disappears.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
And the ride vehicles are your very own dragon!
Of different colors.
Yeah, different colors. So it would, like, start with his head in the front, and there would be 2 seats, and then 2 seats in the back, and his wings would be in the back.
Nice.
Yeah, and you would have, like, purple and green ones, and you would have, like, blue and orange ones, and yellow and pink ones and stuff. All sorts of different colors. So you would get to choose your own.
I love this idea.
Fantasyland.
I really love this idea. It's, in fact, that's the first one we've, I say we as if I did anything. This first one that's been come up with on the show that is like, legitimate dark ride.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it so much. Jayden, did you know there's actually a 2016 remake of this movie?
Yes, I didn't see it ever, but yes, I knew.
I think we'll have to come back sometime and do a little compare and contrast. Like, watch that and come back.
Sounds like a swinging good time. Sounds like a Brazzle Dazzle time.
Yeah, it does. Oh, and there's one thing like I forgot to mention earlier that I think you would appreciate. Did you know Don Bluth, creator of like Anastasia, Thumbelina, American Tail, he was actually the animation director for this movie. So if you look at Elliot closely, you can tell it's like the facial
same
expression.
face.
It's the exact same facial expressions that like a lot of his cartoon characters have. Like it's just the little things you can notice.
That's so cool.
It's really cool. All right, so now's the time where we have to decide whether this goes into the vault, tucked away, where no one can see it. It's garbage, get it out of here, or was it a hidden treasure? Jayden, what do you think?
I think it's a hidden treasure.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I've watched this movie before, like a while ago, and I remember it dragging and it just taking forever and I not really enjoying it. But this time, I really enjoyed it. Like, I really did. A lot of the songs are a lot of fun. Elliot is, like, wonderfully animated.
Oh, yeah. If anything, just from, like, an artistic perspective of looking at the animation.
And the
like,
blending of 2D
so cool.
and, like, reality.
Mm-hmm.
And, like,
there was a moment when, like, Pete was crying, real human tears, and Elliot, like, brushed his finger against his cheek and picked up a 2D tear. It was so cool.
And I always will love, those combinations of 2D and the real world.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just...
Granted, it's not perfect. Like, as a film, it's not a perfect film. You know, there are songs that are like, this is unnecessary, or moments that are confusing, but still, like, it's fun. You know, and most of the core ideas are are great, and the execution of those core ideas is good. And I think that's what matters. So I'd say it's a hidden treasure as well.
Exactly. Like, you can't get rid of this movie for even for just the character Elliot standing out so much on its own. I want to see Elliot as more of a symbol.
Well, guys, thank you all for listening. And if you are interested in watching any of the movies we reviewed so far in Into the Vault, and you happen to have Disney Plus, turns out a good chunk, if not all of them, are on there. You could watch Pete's Dragon, and then this whole review makes a lot more sense, I would say.
Yeah.
So, guys, I highly encourage you guys give a watch to the movies talked about here, and watch a lot of the older Disney movies and the ones that you haven't seen before. Because there's really some awesome stuff in there. There really is. Mm-hmm. Jayden, thank you so much for joining me here today in your home once again.
You're very welcome.
All right.
It was a long drive.
Yeah. And everyone, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.